wrestled with an alligator. I done tussled with a whale. I done handcuffed lightning, throw thunder in jail. Only last week, I murdered a rock, injured a stone, hospitalized a brick. I'm so mean, I make medicine sick.
One of the things you got to do is reverse the definitions that you have in your mind. As far as gang stalking goes and people following you, Hey people, what's up? It's Jamil. And lately I've just been going over a lot of emails and phone calls. I got contacted by a street called, what was it called? Honolulu, I believe. And I'd walk down there at night, and they would have cars come in front of me and keep going towards me like they were going to hit me and kill me. I didn't know if it was a drunk driver. I didn't know if it was somebody who just couldn't drive. I didn't know what it was. I could have easily been killed. I faced that fear and kept walking. I kept doing it and doing it, doing it. And it got to the point where they stopped doing it. They didn't even care anymore because they knew that wasn't. Okay, I wanted to explain to people a little bit about my strategies on beating gang stalking. Now, of course, an individual is not going to miraculously do something and end themselves being targeted by gang stalking. It may naturally go away. Somehow, sometimes people just wake up one day and they're not being gang stalked anymore. Usually that gradually happens. But there's really nothing you're going to do on the street that's just going to stop it. So when I say beat gang stalking, it's how you apply yourself to the life around you. Now, I've been through some extraordinary situations being gang stalked, but I always kept a certain mindset and I always kept a certain vibration in going out and interacting with people. One of the things I want people to know is when you're being gang stalked, there's sort of an illusion effect. The people who are group stalking you, they want to make it look like you're imagining what's happening, or you're delusional, or you're crazy, or it may be happening a little bit, but you're exaggerating, and there's already something wrong with you or something. People don't know the networking that goes on when you're being gang stalked. When I was going through gang stalk intensely, people didn't know my food was being drugged the whole time. I had people using electronic weapons on me. I remember one time my mother, she went and got a pizza. She brought the pizza back to the house, and there was drugs in the pizza. I ate the pizza and got sick. It was only for me. And then I had to sit there arguing with her telling me I was paranoid. It's stuff like that you got to go through when you get gang stalked. Very interesting thing that happened to me is I was getting gang stalked heavily. People following me 24/7, street theater, mimicking, dozens of people constantly. And there's always a small number of people who are actually stalking you. Individuals who are stalking you multiple times a day. Then there's a whole array of people who don't really know you. Just because you're in a certain area that they're at, they're getting contacted to do assignments against you. Maybe one time, it may only be 2 times, depending on how long you're around them or how often you come into the certain area. And so throughout a day, you may be getting gang stalked by 100 different people, depending on where you go and what you're doing. When somebody's going through gang stalking for weeks, months, years, this is what they're going through day to day to day to day. So they're going to carry the symptoms of being paranoid, and they're going to display that activity. And I went through some interesting stuff. I ended up going on a 37-mile walk. A 37-mile walk. And me and my mother got into a gigantic argument. And it had been going on for a couple weeks. And with all the gang stalking that was going on, it was a really, really bad situation. And I wanted to get out of the house. And I didn't have a car. I didn't have anywhere to go, so I just took off walking. And I ended up walking 37 miles. Now, a lot of this walking had to do with the frustration I had been going through. The months of being gang stalked. Watching all these different people just do all this, horrendous, heinous stuff to me. And so I kind of got fed up with it. So I just started walking and walking and walking and walking. And, to be honest with you, I think I enjoyed the walk overall. But at the end of the 37-mile walk, the police came along. And they said, "You're out here, you're walking, it's cold. Why don't we bring you home?" And I said, "I don't want to go home." Now, mind you, I was being gang stalked so bad. I remember walking through a field, and there was actually people in the field doing assignments on me, gang stalking assignments on me. Like, one guy was out there shooting a rifle, and this was like symbolic. It was like, I don't know what it was. It was just some form of mimicking, trying to scare me or whatever. But I just kept walking. So I was in a pretty state where I didn't want to go anywhere with anybody. I just wanted to be left alone. My ultimate plan was just to keep walking, go to a gas station, get something to eat, probably call some sort of service, go lay down, get some sleep at a hotel, just get out of the house for a few days. Anyhow, the cops, they called the ambulance workers, and the ambulance workers came in, and they said, you can have hypothermia. You've been out here walking, and there was no snow out, but yet it was still cold. And so they ended up bringing me all the way back to the area I live at. And I ended up going, I'm at the hospital. I'm in ER. I was in ER for 4 days. The whole time I'm in the hospital, I'm being gang stalked at the hospital. So you can imagine the feeling of this. It never ends. And the different nurses, the orderlies, all these different people were doing assignments. I know, for instance, like my IV or whatever water I was drinking out of, I know somebody had somehow put some drugs within this because I could feel it. I felt it, and I was just like, this is crazy. My mother, the people that were in like the lobby of the hospital, they talked my mother into signing a document that would involuntarily place me in a psychiatric ward. They asked her, has he been paranoid? And looking back on it now, why would they ask her if I've been paranoid? They asked her if I was paranoid and all this stuff to get her to sign a document. So this is like a little setup thing. So I ended up going over to the psychiatric ward for 10 days, right? Now, while I'm in the psychiatric ward, I'm being gang stalked. And I realized one thing, the people there are literally crazy. You're talking about people who are talking to themselves. These people are so high off of medication, they're laying on the floor. Literally, in a psychiatric ward, I'm watching people lay on the floor drooling, and I'm sitting there looking at it, and it's starting to scare me because I had never seen anything like that before. And so I realized, man, this is crazy, right? And so I was in there. I'm in there talking to the people who got the issues. I'm in there telling them about gang stalking and telling them how I was being gang stalked and how I beat gang stalking and all this stuff. And the people who work there are trying to give me drugs. They're trying to say, look, man, just take the drugs and you can get out of here in a few days. And I said, I'm not taking any drugs. It's not. I don't approve of drugs. And eventually, it was a big thing where they wanted to have some sort of like meeting thing so they could legally give me the drugs. And I just said, go ahead, I'm all in, let's go for it. And they got tired of dealing with me, so they just basically told me to leave. They just said, if you don't go on another 37-mile walk, we won't have an issue against you. Now, a lot of people who've been through the sorts of things I've been through, that would have traumatized their life. They would have looked at all the things that happened to them, and it would have put them in some sort of depression or downward spiral, or they would have felt ruined. They would have felt their image was ruined, or psychologically they were ruined. And I come from here. I come from a long line of survivors. I come from a long line of active people who are strong. Going back thousands of years. And so I said, I can't allow, an act of cowardice, a bunch of cowardly people who've been stalking me to throw me off my square, right? And so I get out of the psychiatric ward. I immediately start up a website called beatgangstalking.com. And I go home, I start looking at information about how I could help people beat gang stalking because I wanted to make sure that this would never happen to somebody else. I didn't want to hear, I've heard stories of people having to go to psychiatric wards, but at the same time, I didn't want to hear about somebody, having to go after I got out, after what I've seen, because I see how easily this stuff can happen, So I'm out there speaking to people, giving people my flyers for my website, teaching them about beating gang stalk, and I told them exactly what happened to me. I wasn't tripping off it, I'm stronger than that. And so I'm actually back on the same street that the hospital's on, walking down the street, talking to people about how I beat gang stalking after I got out of the psychiatric ward with all these people gang stalking me, trying to make it look like there was something wrong with me. That's not as simple as what people think. The spiritual character and the psychology of a character to be able to do something like that is incredible. I've sat down and got to look at people who were gang stalking me, and I could look at them and tell they wouldn't have made it through a tenth of what I went through. They just wouldn't have been able to do it. They would have been devastated after a tenth of it. I properly analyze myself. I just get out there and just do it. And so when people are feeling like it's over with, I can't handle this. I'm being gang stalked every day. This has happened to me. This has happened. This has happened to me. You got to pull that extra something out of you. That's what these people want to see. They're spending numerous amounts of dollars with no necessary return on their investment to try to destroy your spiritual fabric. Okay? That's what it is. And you got to constantly be pulling more out of yourself. You got to say, if these people are willing to go to the limits, do this, this, and this, and this, how am I going to expand upon what I already got within me? How am I going to pull more out? Now, I've gone through some things where, I was acting pretty silly. I was acting real goofy. But even in everything that's happened to me, I remember I was even calling companies, telling them about gang stalking, offering my services, trying to make breakthroughs, constantly trying to improve my life. No one's going to do that for you. When you're being gang stalked, nobody's going to come into your life and just say, don't worry about anything. I'm going to do everything for you. You're going to be okay. Nobody can do that. You have to do that yourself. So every single day, you got to make efforts to try to make it better and try to improve your life. And you can never don't ever think there's somebody out there who's over you. The universe doesn't work like that. I everything that's happened, sort of the obstacles I've gone through, it would take 1,000,000 of them to make one of me. That's how I feel about it. Like it'd take all that just to make me. You know what I mean? Just to So I don't even trip off it. I just keep going forward. But I want people to somehow get that energy. In the past when I was coming on my courses to be gang stalking, I didn't even take the time to film the gang stalking that was going on. I got tons of footage of myself being gang stalked. I don't think that's difficult to do. If you're being gang stalked, all you gotta do is turn the camera on. You're a walking movie set. It's not hard to do. But to get the motivation to get out there and face this stuff, that's the tackling thing. And one person who's stalking you, for every one of them, there's 100 other of them that are stalking you. So don't ever feel like, a lot of people get gang stalked somehow feel like, if these main people are stalking me, this is somehow a thing between me and them. You got all kinds of people out there doing assignments on you, following you around. I'm talking mainly to the people who go through gang stalking, who know what I'm saying is accurate. If you have not gone through gang stalking, then it's going to take you a long time to bend your perception to understand what's happening with people who are being gang stalked. Most people, you can sit there and look at Sumerian texts all day. You'll never be able to read it. Well, you can sit there and look at people giving testimony about gang stalking all day and showing you footage. You may never be able to understand it. So if you are being gang stalked, just try to get that motivation out. You know what I mean? And I just want people, I don't know what it is. I just get fired up sometimes. I sit there and I see a street and I see people on both sides walking up and down, and I know when I walk down that street I'm going to be gang stalked. I just go out there and just get it done. Now it's a little different. I just record my footage from time to time, edit it, show people how these assignments work, the entry, exit, the color coding, these different types of things. If you're on the streets walking, the people who are gang stalking hunters, they're not going to be out there. They weren't out there. When I was walking the streets at 3 in the morning getting gang stalked, they weren't out there. They weren't out there on the street. Where were they at? See what I'm saying? When you're being gang stalked, you're the one doing all the work. You're the one carrying the heavy load. They're not going to be out there. No, they're not going to do it. See? So you got to take this stuff real seriously, and find a motivation for yourself. Again, in 2017, between January and February, I was out there walking the streets just out of a mental institution by my own mother. My own mother involuntarily signed me into a mental institution. And the thing that gets me angry is looking back now she tells me, I didn't know you were being stalked. So it's like, now you understand after all of this. That you see what I'm saying? Like, you didn't know? I only had been talking about it every day, what gang stalking was. So, to get out of something like that and to get out there and be fired up and talking to people and communicating to people, if I can do something like that, I know the average person who needs advice, needs motivation, can find it simply in their day-to-day life. Like, you shouldn't have to go through an experience like that. One of the biggest things is social support, education. If one person being gang stalked has at least 2 or 3 people to speak to, the chances of their success are high. Really high. It's the lack of miseducation, or the lack of, it's the miseducation or the ignorance of the public to not grasp that this thing is happening to people. That's what's keeping people so messed up who are getting gang stalked, is they go to their family members, they can't get any assistance. They go to all these different people, they can't get the proper assistance because the people don't know what they're looking at. They don't have any education on the subject. And so starting to learn, hey, color coding, this brightening thing, the mimicking thing. These are factors used in gang stalking. An average person getting an assignment, they're contacted through Facebook. They're contacted through other site apps. It could be technology, like satellite technology. Like if an individual is getting gang stalked and they go from one place to the next, the satellite or drone or however it's used, I'm not sure. I've never seen anybody use it firsthand or explain it to me firsthand. But that technology is going to be observing the person. So the individuals around the person are some guy going to be contacted, asked to do these different assignments for different reasons. That's pretty much of the glimpse I get when I look into how this stuff works. So it's going to be communicated to them, hey, put on this red shirt and do this, or go stand on the corner and do this, and they'll be shown on their phone through the little app technology where to go to do the assignments, where to stand outside to do it. And so the guy who's getting gang stalked, he's running around telling people, listen, I'm being gang stalked. I have my food drugged. People using electronic weapons on me. I'm being stalked. And even the people who are doing the assignments, they may not even know what gang stalking is. So for one individual who's being gang stalked, you're dealing with a tiny group of people who know exactly that they're being stalked. They know everything. They're watching this. They're watching 24/7. And the larger majority of people have no idea what gang stalking is. I'll make another video at some point in time on the subject, but I encourage people, just stay motivated and stay pumped up, and don't let anybody, keep your relationship with the source energy, and don't let any weak people interfere with your life.